was a number of years ago, back in the late 90s, and there's a great movie called The Mask of Zorro. It's one of our personal favorites, and it's actually one that our guest speakers Bill and Pam Garfield used last night to help lead us into some deeper truth of the Word. The old Zorro meets this young guy who's a fighter who wants to jump in and get revenge and everything else, and he's got to take him under his wing and train him about how to actually use the weapon he thinks he's got. And he says, you know, the guy's got the sword, says, do you even know how to use that thing? He goes, yes. The pointy end goes in the other end. And he says, this is going to take a lot of work. So, Bill's point that I want to encourage you about as we're learning to fight forward for our families, specifically for children, and it's often a long haul fight. It's not instantaneous, but it's using a two-edged sword. And he goes on to talk about how that one edge of the sword first has to cut in on us, where God has to deal with us first, so that we begin to learn how to use the other edge of that sword effectively. Bill opens his heart up to talk about how he came to discover that actually it was he who was the prodigal, as in the prodigal father, that had to first get dealt with, and so that he could deal with prodigal children. He's a guy who didn't speak to his twin sons for 23 years in the midst of all the fallenness. But as God restored him, restored his life, and began to take him deeper and deeper into Jesus, how things began to shift and turn and change. And there's still more to be done, but there's tremendous victory and encouragement. What you're going to find is a man who is real and available. Bill is not a lot of fluff and a lot of flash, but there is a deep heart conviction in him that will imprint upon you and I believe encourage you. The Word of God is powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, but it's two-edged, and we have to learn appropriately how to use it. But when we do, and when you sow into that, the results do come back. It sometimes takes some time. We're in a very instant generation kind of time. We love microwaves, we love fast food, we like it right now. But there are a lot of things where we have to relearn, especially in our faith walk. It's not just a name it, claim it. There's a perseverance aspect to that, and knowing what you're laying hold of so that you can bring heaven and earth, connect those. God is not done with you yet. He's not done with your kids yet, and there's a whole lot more out there waiting for you in the adventure.
Defense position, some of the things in strategy when you war. The place of strength is when you war properly.